us through this.
Have you noticed how NG911 conversations always start with the same promise? More data, better decisions, faster response. Cool. Now let me ask the uncomfortable follow-up. What happens when that more data is wrong? Not missing, not delayed, but wrong. Because in a data flood, bad data doesn't just drift by quickly. It gets promoted. It gets trusted. And it gets acted upon. And that is where the danger lives. That's coming up next on TiPS, Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch. I'm a NENA certified ENP, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I bring you the latest, most informative, but sometimes controversial takes on emergency communications. Today I'm going to be taking a deep dive into NG911 data flooding and the ugly cousin that nobody wants to invite to the family reunion, data poisoning. Okay, let's start off by setting the table. Next generation 911 is not just 911 with cool video. It's an ecosystem shift. It's more context coming from more places, higher speeds, and more information than ever dealt with in the legacy 911 world. And yeah, that's powerful. But there's a trap that's hidden in the glow of all of that innovation. You see, if you scale the amount of data, you also scale the consequences of bad data. Now, in the old world, the caller says, I'm at the mall. And then we ask follow-up questions. We triangulate, we validate, we use good judgment. In the new world, systems can hand us location, floor, building entrance, and alarm panel data. There's information from cameras, sensors, medical notes, you name it. Even the building can contribute access control information and maybe even a helpful AI summary on top of everything. Yeah, that all sounds great until one piece is wrong and it pushes everything else off the cliff. Today is about that cliff. First, let's define a few terms in plain English. A data flood is what happens when your environment is suddenly capable of sending an ocean of information into the public safety workflow. Not just voice, everything. Sensors, building systems, vehicle telemetry, campus safety platforms, medical devices, apps, and third-party aggregators, all promising to enrich the call with helpful context. Now, data poisoning. This doesn't have to be some evil mastermind hiding out in a dark hoodie. It can be malicious, yeah, but it's often accidental. It's often structural. You see, data poisoning is any condition where information is entering the decision loop that's incorrect. Maybe it's misleading, stale, manipulated, or presented with a level of confidence that it doesn't deserve. Now here's the scary part. Bad data isn't always obviously bad. Bad data can look clean. It can look precise. It can look official. And it can even come with a comforting label like verified. Meanwhile, the real-world outcome is responders walking into the wrong door, staging in the wrong place, or making tactical decisions based on sensor data that's quietly died 3 weeks ago. Next generation 911 is a force multiplier. And like any force multiplier, it multiplies mistakes just as well. So let me give you a few realistic, this can happen next Tuesday examples. Example 1, the confidence trap. A location feed shows a dot on a map with 6 decimal points. Beautiful. The only problem is the dot's mapped to the wrong building. Why? Because the enterprise GIS layer is outdated. The system's not lying on purpose. It's lying with confidence. Example number 2, the stale sensor. A building system reports normal conditions. The dispatcher sees it and feels relief, but the sensor's offline, frozen, or miscalibrated. So normal is not a status, it's a default. Example number 3, the duplicate incident problem. This is where multiple automated sources report the exact same event. Alarm panel, app, camera analytics, and maybe even a social media scrape. The workstation lights up like a Christmas tree. It feels validated with the data because it appears in many places. But it's just one bad seed replicating across channels. All the same thing and all wrong. Example number 4, the helpful summary that's wrong. AI gets a burst of incoming context and produces a clean narrative. The language is polished. It's firm and decisive, but it's also based on partial data, or it merges two incidents, or makes an assumption that no human would ever make if they were asking clarifying questions. The classic hallucination. Example number 5, deliberate manipulation. Yeah, unfortunately, the malicious version exists. Spoofed device IDs, fabricated sensor events, synthetic media, or a compromised enterprise system that's feeding your workflow a story that was built to steer response in a specific direction, benefiting the attacker. Now, I'm not trying to turn this into a horror movie. I'm just trying to make one point. If your operational posture is more data equals better outcomes, then you're building an efficiency machine with no quality control. And in public safety, quality control is the difference between help and harm. The reality check. We love the word interoperability. We love integration. We love data sharing. But the uncomfortable truth is this: attributable does not automatically mean trustworthy. Just because a data feed has a name and a source code doesn't mean that it's correct. And it doesn't mean that it's current. And most of all, it doesn't mean that it's safe to act on without validation. So the moment we start treating inbound data as gospel, we quietly replace human judgment with interface confidence. Now, if you want to see this problem in the wild, look for any workflow where the operator says, "Well, that's what the system says," and then the conversation stops. You see, that's the warning sign. NG911 needs to amplify judgment, not replace it. So the question's not, how do we get more data into the PSAP? The question is, how do we prevent bad data from becoming operational truth? The bottom line: NG911 is not just a technology upgrade, it's a trust problem. If we're going to accept a flood of information directly into the call taking and dispatch workflow, we've got to treat data quality like a life safety function. And that means some new core principles. Number 1, provenance matters. Know the source, and know what that source is allowed to claim as truth. Number 2, freshness matters. Stale data needs to be obvious, not silent. Number 3, validation matters. Automated does not mean verified. Number 4, resilience matters. One corrupted feed should not contaminate the entire decision process. And number 5, training matters. The call taker and dispatcher need permission to challenge the screen. They need the culture that says trust, then verify. Because the goal is not more data. The goal is better outcomes. And sometimes the safest move is to slow down just enough to make sure the data is real before it becomes action. That wraps up today's episode of TiPS, Today in Public Safety. Thanks so much for listening. For more updates and insights, remember to follow me on social media at Fletch911. And you can visit 911tips.com, where you'll find a complete archive of my previous episodes. Check out my blogs at fletch.tv, and my professional website is at fletch911.com. Stay safe. Thanks so much for listening. And if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. We'll see you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Catch past episodes on 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on Sirius XM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10th spot, and on the Weekend Countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good.